Listeners of the deep below, we welcome you to a new story, and as always, ask you to visit the author's work, as well as visit us on other social media platforms. Welcome to the story. Velvet floors, how fancy. Mr. Collins had been kind enough to book the most expensive wing for the cast members. He had an eye for luxury. I blame it on his lost architectural degree. His winding path toward drama is what inspired me in my own pursuit. If you're daring enough to imagine it, it's possible for you to craft it, he would say. My crafting was riddled with doubt. Merely being in my decadent dressing room drew forth my anxiety. How unnatural it is to memorize lines and create scenes that evoke feelings from an audience. It's like a socially accepted form of emotional manipulation. Odd. Probably overthinking it though. I was quite nervous for the play. 1 hour to go. I figured I should speak to my parents and brother before the show. Mom tended to worry that every extreme circumstance she conjured up was imminent. The clever underground tunnel that connected the dressing room and seating area felt dry enough to crack the skin on my fingertips. Mom made eye contact with me as I approached the other side and briskly led my father and Brandon in my direction. I considered how this meeting would increase my stress. 45 minutes. Mr. Collins had told my mother that my friends and I would be unforgettable tonight. She was delighted. My dad gave me a fatherly nod, and Brandon delivered an awkwardly boyish hug. I handed them the seating tickets Mr. Collins provided. I was still astonished that I was in a play you could reserve boxed seats for. I made my way back to my dressing room, familiar blessings in hand. Tunnel felt a bit humid. Someone must have fixed the air. Mr. Collins was skinny and dapper in his suit. He gave me a warm chuckle of validation as I walked past him to return to my dressing room. "Good luck, darling. You deserve this the most." His voice calmed me. 30 minutes. I settled on a slick leather chest. I felt like I was going to throw up. Those damn nerves. I found solace in the marble bathroom, decked with golden metalware. 15 minutes later, I still felt ill. I took my phone out to call my mother. Just an instinct, I guess. No signal. With all the perks that this place brought, cell phone service should be the least of my concerns. I picked myself up and sauntered down the hallway, searching. A faint droning was getting louder as I came closer to room 803C. That was Charles's room. He had the best brown eyes. I knocked. No answer. But the door was slightly ajar. I tapped it. It swung open. The drowning was here, a consistent. Charles was covered in blood. I flailed for a trash can as this reminded me of my own sickness, and then I screamed. One of those screams that comes from your soul. Don't go back in, Charles spat. He opened the vents. He put something in the... I turned around and stared at the wall, glanced down at the trash can. Blood. I mindlessly bolted back toward the tunnel. Locked. Where were we? 10 minutes. I broached the notion of signaling through the curtains on stage. My mother's vigilance would certainly save me. I sprinted backstage. What the fuck? I looked vacantly at the scene right before me. Cast members were sprawled out across the darkly glazed wooden floor. Thick, bright red streaks painted the lower moldings on the wall. Ghostly pale figures of my friends fluttered around me. My skin started to burn. I moved gingerly to the curtains and rose my vision toward the seating box. Couldn't see them from this angle. That felt deliberate. As I looked solemnly down at my feet, my gaze fixated on a crisp engraving in the wood. 1 minute. Funded and built by Frederick Collins, 1984. Mr. Collins empathetically beamed at the audience. He was pleased with his extravagance. The silk crimson curtains began to roll up, behind which there was an overwhelming mass of his students, crying, screaming, bleeding. Flesh was strung out along the cherry wood floors. Without skipping a beat, Mr. Collins whispered, "Welcome to the show."